Okay, so we are here in our next task, and on this occasion, we will be exploring approaches to teaching writing. And also in the second one, you'll notice that it's basically the same, but it's focused on reading. So coming up right now, we have approaches to teaching writing, and then the following will be on reading. And I'd just like to make this comment ahead of time, since we're going to be dealing with these two sides of the input and output in content for the learner. Where talking about reading and writing, we generally see a lot of teachers make the common mistake that they come to class and they just approach this in a very direct way, where it's a reading class, so okay, let's do the reading, maybe show one or two pictures, in the concept of kind of getting them into the idea, and then doing the reading, and then maybe following up with some comprehension questions, and that's about it. With the writing, sometimes it's a little worse, because generally we just place a topic and write a brief something about this topic, and that's it. Now, for the most part, this is not the best way or not the best approach to teaching reading and writing in general. Generally, what you want to do is you want to think of these things as more complex in nature. And the curious thing, and you'll see this in the video somewhere in these two activities, is that a writing class or a reading class many times has a lot to do more with speaking and listening than the actual reading and writing. And this is not because we're focusing on those, but because we're supporting ourselves, we're supporting the writing practice, and we're supporting the reading practice on the other skills, which we already know are very strong in students, which are listening and speaking for the most part. So if you do a rich concept or introduction section where you show a lot of pictures, where you have a short discussion, where you maybe have students collect and discuss, and then you have a review of that introduction, and then you lean them into the reading or writing practice, and then you have the writing and reading practice separately, of course, maybe taking up 20 minutes. And then coming out of that, maybe you'll have a social part where you talk about what you read or you talk about what you wrote. And then you have a conclusion part where you do a graphic, where you do something external, where you search on the web, where you do something of that sort. When you have those sort of classes where it's not just, here's a reading practice, do it, answer the questions, you're done, next, or the same for writing, which are more direct and really are out of context for everybody. But when you have these sort of classes that it's not just direct, it's a story that you're involving your students in, through pictures, through the telling of stories, through bringing something from home perhaps, and doing a sort of show and tell where you bring in the web, videos, web pages, and all of these other resources at different stages of your class. It makes the writing and the reading practice far more enriching, a far better learning experience, and I guarantee you that it will for sure develop your students' reading and writing skills a lot faster. And it'll make sense because not only that, but you're linking them in a very direct way to listening and speaking. So remember, we have these 4 basic skills, and just because we focus on the one skill doesn't mean we have to forget the other 3. They're still there. They're interconnected. We can't separate them. So let's use them at different points to strengthen this skill we're focusing on, and then we're trying to push to develop in some way. And then another occasion when you have not that it pertains to us in this class, but maybe you have a listening activity, well, that's your focus, that's the listening skill. But in that case, you use speaking, reading, and writing to support it and push it forward to make it develop faster. for that specific class. So that's kind of the idea in general. So in these tasks, and specifically this one, teaching approaches, or approaches to teaching writing, we're going to take a look at some varieties of how to go about and teach a writing class. Just a conceptual part, and then here, and I'll give you a heads up, also very similar to the following, which is the reading. You'll select an individual writing activity from a workbook, from a student workbook, and you'll do that same activity in different approaches. This way you get an idea of comparing, well, how does the same activity look in one approach? How does that same activity look in a different approach? And then in a different approach. And that way you can make a clear analysis of comparing and contrasting and then derive your conclusions. Ultimately, this will give you a clear perspective in many other situations where you have to select a specific approach for a specific class. Okay, so that's about it for this introduction, which in a way is for the two tasks, this one and the next one. So let's get started.